Question number 2. Okay, this is from Ollie in California. I am a first-time mom of an absolutely wonderful 3-year-old boy. He's been a complete joy to parent. But I really dislike playing with him. Oh, yeah, I get this. He pleads with me to play, and sometimes I do it, but I am counting down the minutes. It is an activity I dread. I dread more than anything. I'm bored, and I want to do anything else. I don't think he can tell, but I worry he'll think I don't want to be with him, which is farthest from the truth. I just can't play anymore. I feel like the worst mom because I absolutely dread playing with my son. What is the solution? All right. I appreciate so much getting questions, candid, anonymous questions from moms, because I think there's a lot of silence around motherhood, and there's this expectation that everything is joyful and that we're so happy to be parents, and that every moment is filled with excitement and joy for engaging with our kids, and that is not always the case. And this is definitely speaking to that. I don't know many people who enjoy playing. I mean, there's wonderful, amazing play therapists who love doing that work. I think there are some parents who enjoy playing with their kids at 3 years old. There's sometimes like a roughhousing component that the kid gets super excited, the parent gets excited. But I would say across the board, adults who enjoy critical thinking, feeling challenged, find like putting together a 4-piece puzzle or a 6-piece puzzle boring. And they love their kids, and they just don't want to do that. So I would say what's the solution? I think let me just fix my camera. Hold on one second. I think the first solution is to have empathy for yourself and kind of start looking at the shame component of what's going on for you with this topic. Recognizing that there's not going to be every single phase of your child's development that will be enjoyable. Some are going to be so exciting, and it's just going to be your developmental phase, and you're going to be in your groove. And others might be neutral, and some you might just not like. And so I think that's the first solution, is to remember that parenting, just like anything else, there are elements that we like, we don't like, and we're neutral about. And that is okay. That just makes you human. I think that the shame emerges because we don't, in our society, often talk about aspects of parenting that, I think sometimes we talk about aspects that are hard and challenging. But the idea that we might dislike some elements of parenting, I don't think gets as much airtime, doesn't get as much airtime as is actually true. So one would be really thinking through the guilt. One way to do that is you can ask yourself, this is actually a question from EMDR, which is one of my favorite questions to ask clients when they're in kind of like a guilt spiral, which is, what are you making it, whatever the it is? So in this case, it's not enjoying playing with my child. What are you making it mean about you? So what are you making it mean that you don't want to play with your child? What are you making that mean about you? And you really need to just keep asking yourself and keep going down and down and down until you get to a core negative self-belief. And if I had to guess, I would imagine probably going down that chain. It's, if I don't like to play with my kid, it means that I'm not a good parent. And if I'm not a good parent, it means I'm not a good person. And if I'm not a good person, what that means is I'm a bad mom. And then contending with not liking to play with your 3-year-old is not equal to being a bad mom, and kind of thinking about where else does that narrative show up. Those are helpful questions that you can talk about with a therapist for sure. Feel like if you're coming down to a negative core belief that I'm a bad person, or I'm not good enough, or I'm incompetent, those are hard questions to sort out. Those are hard negative core beliefs to sort out on your own with a journal. You can try, and I think a lot of people make amazing progress writing out their responses and trying to move out of those negative core self-beliefs. I also think you can make a lot faster progress with a therapist. So that's one thing that I would think about. The other thing I just wanted to go through with this question so this is also going to be in the post, you'll see. I just want to go through the developmental ages and the types of play. Just so you know, this type of play is not forever. So let's just go, I'm just going to take you up 4 to 6 years old. So let's start with 0 to 2. So 0 to 2 years old, the type of play that kids really gravitate toward and are developmentally ready for is called solitary play. So they basically play on their own, like a little 1-year-old rolling a block around on the floor, looking around. They're engaging with their environment pretty much solo. Parents or caregivers might choose to engage with the child, and that's really good. It's really appropriate. And also the kid is not going to be seeking that out between the ages of 0 to 2. Even if there's a full room of people around them, people might engage with them, and they will likely respond, but they will not seek that out during those ages of 0 to 2 for solitary play. We then get into 2 to 2.5. So this is just a very brief amount of time where kids actually prefer to observe other kids playing. And if you've ever seen a 2-year-old do this, it's very sweet. It's also very interesting. Instead of playing on their own, they actually begin just looking around and seeing what other kids are playing with. And a lot of times parents, this starts concerning them because they're thinking, why isn't my kid playing? Why aren't they doing anything? They just seem to be, looking around. They're not engaging on their own. Is this a red flag? It's not. It's just called spectator play. And it's a really normal, meaning expected, phase of development. And I just want to reiterate, these are not set in stone ages. These are just, through research studies, this is a general population falls into these at these ages, but you can see a child who's older or a child who's younger doing some of these things. And then 2.5 to 3, you think of parallel play. So this is when kids are playing next to each other and actually just engaging in, they might both be doing a puzzle and they're engaging in the puzzle. They're not interacting with each other. They're not watching each other. They're just playing next to each other. So I think this is the phase that Ollie's child is in, of doing some, they're moving into some parallel play, like, hey, I want you to be next to me. I want you to play with me. I want you to do this puzzle, and might be moving into that next phase of 3 to 4 is called associate play. And this is where parents it can be so exhausting, especially if the child is generally alone or doesn't have siblings, or there's a giant pandemic that makes it impossible for play dates to happen. This is when the kid wants other children or a caregiver around, but they're really wanting just to direct, essentially. I want to be the teacher, you be the student, you do this and I'll do this. And they're really in like the director role. I'm going to be the chef and you need to order breakfast and then I'm going to bring the omelet, like the whole thing. And you're really a conduit to their imaginary life. And then you have 4 to 6. This is when parents can get a little bit of relief because kids are more apt to go to a playground while their parent is sitting on a bench, or ride their bike while their parent is walking behind them. and they play with each other. This is where interacting with other kids is extremely helpful. It takes some pressure off the parent to constantly be the playmate. I know this has not been easy during the pandemic because kids have been pretty much solo. But these are the 4 to 6 are the years where they're starting to branch out and not need your consistent guidance. They're not needing your consistent interaction with their play. So that is a little bit about the developmental aspects of play. It's not easy. It is not easy. Some aspects of parenthood are fun and joyful and interesting and compelling, and others are just boring or not interesting. And that is okay. That is okay. You are only human.